Now, running an agency, how is that experience like in that?
Yo! Just running a business on its own in Zambia, it's not for the faint-hearted, but it's a very good environment. For me, running an agency taught me that I'm not actually in the business of marketing and advertising. You're in the business of money.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
If you can manage your money properly, you manage an agency. If you hire somebody who's cheap, you're willing to do part of the work for them. If you hire somebody who is, say, expensive, they're going to handle everything. And if you're that person who is expensive, you should handle everything. You should just say, hey, this client, this is what it is. You charge them, or they give you the purchase order, and then you go and handle every single thing. And you give them feedback point to say, hey, this is what's happening. We've actually done this. We're done with this. We've delivered the job. We're now waiting to get paid. The practice of art doesn't necessarily have to be enforced, but it has to be identified and nurtured. So if you're a parent that has a child that is going all over the place, you kind of have to nurture that to say, okay, I see that he has a tendency of doing these things. He might be a very good doctor, but doctors can also be artists. I think we have to just break that wall in between science versus art. Either this or that, It can be mixed. Can be the same thing.
I think the world is even now changing, because before it was an issue of if you do art, you won't be able to financially support yourself or your family.
Yes,
I think that was the biggest issue. That's why I would be encouraged to go in that route, the traditional route. But now I think the world is now opening up. We're seeing that as a creative, you're able to make money and make a living out of it. Augustine, good to finally have you here.
Yes, man. It's good to finally meet. I've been seeing your stuff online, and I was like, this guy is doing what I want.
He's doing exactly what I want.
Yeah, I like it. I like it when I see creatives that scare me, in a sense.
Okay.
That is, you're doing some scary stuff.
You're doing some scary stuff.
So I mean, it means you're doing something good,
Yeah.
But if it's just regular stuff, you just scroll over it. Yeah.
No, that's I don't know. that's motivating to hear that come from you. When I look up to you. I've been following your work, I think, since 2020 online, of course.
Yes.
I've been seeing your work, the stuff that you've been doing, all the stuff. So
that's a blessing.
Hearing that from you is I don't know how to feel about it.
I mean it. I think for me, I never really thought about it like that. Like, okay, people are seeing my stuff. Actually, for the most part, I feel like the best and the busiest designers or people who are in the creative space that are doing great work, they go unnoticed. So it's like, Joshua Banda.
Joshua Banda, yeah.
He's quite a brilliant designer as well. There are so many designers I can list that don't pop up when they're doing all these awards things.
Yeah, they never show up.
They never pop up, but they're in the background doing like amazing international work. So for me, I think that to be recognized is a great thing. However, it wasn't like my intention to say, so it's always surprising when somebody says, I see your work. And like, what are you talking about? It's a nice thing.
Yeah, but that's the truth. I think it's also important because I think it also helps you to be humble per se. Because when you hear that you feel like you're the one who's doing the stuff, I think it also brings some sort of pride, which also maybe you make you less focused on what you're doing or creating the good stuff that you're doing. I don't know if you see it that way.
Well, I think it starts from the intention. When we started design, were we trying to be the baddest designer out there, or were we just actually trying to get good work done, and hopefully get paid for it? For me, when I started out, I knew that what I had was good because I went to school for it. And there were not many people who had gone to school for it when I started looking for a job. So I said, okay, this is valuable. They need to pay me at least this much, right? For me to be able to settle and be committed to a job. So my intention wasn't necessarily, oh, I'm going to be the baddest designer in Zambia or Lusaka. I was just like, hey, I would love to design like top work, billboards for the biggest companies, And at the time, I'm referring to my work at ZK Advertising, which is now Altitude Advertising. The rebranded part was still there. At the time, it's the focus is the team. When you do something, we all put our heads together. There's a client service who actually made sure that the brief is right and things like that. So it wasn't, there were not so many freelancers. Where it's like the attention just goes to the freelancer. So now you can see that there will be a difference between the people who started out as freelancers and are still freelancing because they wanted to dominate as them. And while we were working under an agency, we wanted to put up the agency's name first.
Out there.
So I think that's where the difference is. So growing up like that as a designer who wasn't really looking for the attention myself, I still feel like it's surprising. I mean,
Okay. So now take me back. Like, how was it growing up? Were you always this creative, or did you know that you wanted to be in the creative field? Or
that's a really interesting question. I always knew.
Wow.
Yeah, I always knew from the youngest age ever. I always knew that this is what I wanted to do because I enjoyed it so much. I went to a Montessori nursery school, so they used to teach us how to like draw and play with colors and all that kind of stuff. So I can literally remember that I used a frame to draw a girl, like you should like the skirt of the girl, and put the head on top and whatnot. I can remember that in that school. So from that time, my love for drawing was heightened. And then I interacted with one of my uncles who was in university at the time, who showed me, like, he was doing a sculpture from clay. So I was like, he's made a head out of clay. Like, how does one person do that? Make another person? That's really cool. So I was so intrigued that I wanted to ask him questions like, how do you do that? And he said, okay, just start drawing, just draw as much as you can. So I started drawing cars and things like that. And that's how I went to, in grade 3, I went to school and challenged the entire school, a new school. Said I'm the best artist here. And then the whole school went crazy. Like, hey, this guy, how can you say that? Hey, there's this other guy called Albert. He's better than you and whatnot. So maybe you guys should draw against each other. So we drew against each other and I lost. And it was like, okay, cool. But I'm the second best now.
At least I'm the second best in the school.
So from then, all my grades in art were always higher than every other grade, every other subject. And I remember my dad actually telling me that, why don't you level up and make sure that your other subjects are up to the same level as your art? And I just didn't know because I don't study art. I'm not studying.
You don't study.
Yes. It's not like I had a theory exam. It was one of those things where they put you in class and say, okay, draw this. And because you love it so much, you draw like 3 or 4 of them, so that becomes the practice. So I studied art all through school, high school. I did IB art. IB is like International Baccalaureate. I did IB art, which was like really intense, and that broke the walls and made me learn that, okay, this is a good space for me to be. And I tried to convince my parents to do art, but then I saw that there would be some resistance. I spoke to my teacher at the time. She told me to do graphic design. And I convinced my dad. It was World Cup 2008, right?
The World Cup.
Yeah, there was a World Cup around that time, 2005, 2008 or something.
Yeah.
So there was a can, a Fanta can.
Mm-hmm.
Showed it to my father and I said, we were in Malawi at the time actually on vacation. So I said, I want to do this. Somebody designed this. I want to be the person who designs this. So it was like a crowd on the can and they were
I think I
celebrating.
remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I want to be the one to do this. And he's like, are you sure? So people like, there's somebody, this is a job, they get paid.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, people get paid. They get paid serious money. And I had gotten information from my teacher at the time. She told me that, okay, graphic designs, it's like art, but using computers. It's digital art. So it would be perfect for you. Like, great.
Yeah.
So my dad was like, okay, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. Find a school and then we can see how we can do it. Yeah, so found a school in Malaysia and studied graphic design and came back here.
And I feel like parents, that's what parents should do, what they did to you. When they see that the child is doing well in that particular area,
Space,
they don't have to think about, no, you have to be a doctor or force them to go in a certain direction. I think they need to support.
I think it's both. So the crucial part is identifying it, right, while they're still young. You see a child and say, this child is drawing all over my walls. Instead of shouting at this child, let me put him into a class. Let them nurture it in a way that now they understand that the wall might not be the best medium, but there's a sketchbook, there's a canvas, so now they can now identify where to express themselves from. So there's the identification bit, but then there's the training through that process. There are some people who learn, they discover because they've been taught that that's the way. Serena Williams, your dad comes and says, okay, you're going to play tennis. Come, let me teach you. They teach you. They put you under a certain discipline, and then eventually that's like the only thing you know. And your sports discipline comes out like that, right? So there's identifying it, but then there's also enforcing it. It's like, okay, it has to happen like this. It's not really with art. The practice of art doesn't necessarily have to be enforced, but it has to be identified and nurtured. So if you're a parent that has a child that is drawing all over the place, you kind of have to nurture that to say, okay, I see that he has a tendency of doing these things. He might be a very good doctor, but doctors can also be artists. Yeah, so I think we have to just break that wall in between science versus art, where you pick either this or that. It can be mixed. It can be the same thing. Yeah.
I think the world is even now changing, because before it was an issue of if you do art, you won't be able to financially support yourself or your family.
Yes,
I think that was the biggest issue. So that's why I would be encouraged to go in that route, like the traditional route. I think that was the problem. But now I think the world is now opening up. We're seeing that as a creative, you're able to make money and make a living out of it. I think even our parents, well, at least as far as we understand, even like our children, the children that we're going to have, we'll be able to, we've experienced that and we're able to guide them to say, oh, you can do whatever that you're capable of doing. Yeah, I think that's the whole point. I think that's how it should be taken.
True. Yeah, so I think that gives you an idea of my artistic journey. So I just as a background of who I am as a person, people, it sounds confusing to some people. So that's how I actually decided to separate the stuff that I do, so that the people, my audiences are not mixed, and then the ones that do, it just happens to be, So I take myself as a creative. I am a filmmaker, graphic designer, lecturer, graphic design and
creative director.
Yeah, creative director. Right now, my position says Chief Creative Officer. I founded King Spirit, partnered with some great friends. King Spirit does media, production, photography, strategy. We've been in business for close to 8 years now. And so I identify myself as a creative, but you see people who know me as a graphic designer, some people know me as a photographer, some people know me as a filmmaker. And I feel like I've gotten to a point where now it's been for some time where I'm not actually doing the work myself. You know, I work with teams. Only when I maybe just want to practice, I step in, or the person that was supposed to do it wasn't available, I can do the work as well. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm too fresh for that.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it. I actually enjoy freshening and sharpening my tools and stuff. So that's what I do. That's me in the creative space.
So those are like so many hats that you have on. I think I also see like myself going in that direction where like I'm interested in filmmaking, photography, graphic design, like even art. Even though I'd stopped for a long time, I mostly do it on the computer, like the work that I've done before. But how do you balance that yourself?
Yeah, we're actually having a conversation with Keith. We're having a conversation with Keith just now about, because he was saying he's now seeing a lot about my visual arts, my painting. He's seen a lot about it recently. So I allocate time blocks for each activity. So I know that my lecturing has this specific time block. My art has a specific time block within the year. So I can't teach every single day of the year. And I can't paint every single day of the year. I can only have so many exhibitions in the year. So I've locked the end of the year for my art exhibition. So October, November, maybe even starting in September, that's me doing art. So my mind is not there completely with these other things. It doesn't mean that they won't be done. There's teams that are handling that. So art is, for me, is personal because I have to like craft it myself. So I'm more engaged in that space. So I block those times out to say, okay, this is what I'm doing in this quarter of the year. This is what I'm doing at this time. This is what I'm doing at this time. So from the experience from last exhibition, I have noticed that I need to start doing the artworks much earlier. So now I'm thinking about starting to get the material now this month. You know, actually I was just checking through my account and I was like, oh, there's some money I need to get. I need to get some supplies. Supplies, you know. So I need to have that sorted so that the pressure is distributed. You know, I'm working a little bit more free. I want to be. What I learned from the exhibition is that I want to go to the exhibition to experience it as a guest. I was experiencing it as an organizer. And that took away from my time to learn, you know, to interact with people being present and learning from them. So that's how I do. I just segment everything and make sure that it has time blocks. You put in the work, man. You put in the work because it's the older you get, the less time you have. So while you're younger, put in the work. I wake up early, sleep late. Wake up early, sleep late. Sometimes it's not good, but sometimes sometimes I take the weekends and just sleep.
Just to sleep.
Yes.
I mean, you're at the point where you have teams, you have people that are managing, that are doing other stuff for you. But what of a beginner, someone who's interested in multiple fields? They want to learn graphic design, they want to learn photography, they want to learn filmmaking. How do they balance that?
Okay,
sometimes it's also like difficult in Zambia to, like, if you focus on one thing and then you get another job which focuses on one thing and you want to get that as well.
Yeah, the key thing is, firstly, you need to have a dagger This is like your personal tool. I look at creativity as weapons, The camera is a weapon. It's like the world's best weapon. It's not even the missiles and all that kind of stuff. Media is such a delicate but so powerful thing. The information, if I can change your mind, I have more power than a bomb. Yeah. So if you want to be a creative, you need to have your first dagger. Don't try to get all the weapons. You're not going to be able to use all these weapons at once. People are going to come to you and attack you, and you're like still looking for the one thing that you know. So get that and get it right. Yeah. And then start adding on top, because the concept is almost the same. Yeah, the concept is almost the same. The principles of design are applied even in film. You apply the principles of design even in art. The space, the pattern, all these things. You cannot apply the same things throughout. So you need to understand at least one practice to the best of your ability, and then let that flow into the others. So so how you get it to a point where you now have multiple disciplines. You want to also get to a point where you're confident that I've got this, right? So I'm confident that I can get the job done to the highest level. The way for you to judge that is, I've gotten people who have hired the people that I was looking up to, and I've done work for them, and they've approved of that work. Yeah. Or the people I was looking up to are approving of my work. So I'm confident that I can do this well, and I've done it for a certain period of time. So now, the things that I'm interested in, like photography or film, somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, we're trying to do an ad for 30 seconds or 15 seconds. Is it something that you can do?" Yeah. Then first thing you should say is yes.
You say
yes, because now you know the principles, all these things that you can apply to this thing. And you should have some really good friends and be very good at research. Yeah, I think research is like the power tool for me. I spend hours researching the stuff that I've just said yes to. I just go back and then study for hours.
Yeah, even if you've not done it before, that's the time to do it.
Yes, I go and study and study and study, and then come back and do it.
I think I also was like in that place where I think I started with design. I was like learning design first, and then an opportunity for video came. I think for me it has also been about the work that I'm given at that moment. For example, when I got to a company, I started working for a company, I'm like, okay, you had me maybe as a graphic designer, but I can also try motion design as well. I can also try filmmaking. So I think that's how I've just learned, and I think challenging myself as well. If you're given a project, say yes, even if you don't know motion design. And then that's the time for you to research, go through YouTube, research on Google, and you definitely do it. Because that pressure of saying, I don't want to disappoint the people that I'm delivering this work for. So even your mind will be awake to say, I need to learn this as fast as possible. And I think that is the best way I found out that I'm able to learn faster and pick up skills, different skills in the creative field.
Yeah. It's very dangerous though if it falls on the wrong ears, because somebody can think, oh, I just need
you need to.
Your reputation is on the line. So you need to just be. That's why I was saying that build the confidence of mastering one tool and using it very well. Because at the end of the day, that tool is going to open doors for you. You're going to meet the right people. And, if you're stuck, you're going to be like, okay, let me call Marka and say, hey, man, I'm stuck with this thing. I saw you've done some videos and stuff. Can you help me out? Yeah.
So now, running an agency, how is that experience like in Zambia?
Yo! It's just running a business on its own in Zambia. I think if you, it's not for the faint-hearted, but it's a very good environment. Zambia is a very good environment for you to run a business in the first place. For me, running an agency taught me that I'm not actually in the business of marketing and ads and advertising. You're in the business of money.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
If you can manage your money properly, you manage an agency.
That's the most
That's
important.
it. Yeah?
That's the most important thing.
Yes. So I call you and I say, I want you to design an A4 snapper frame poster. Okay, let's say A2 to be realistic. A2 snapper frame for poster. Yeah. You can just shout out a figure. How much would you charge me?
1,000.
1,000. Okay, so you design. I say, okay, something has come up. Can you just, we need to print 30 of those posters. Are you able to print?
No, I'm not able to print. I don't have the equipment to print.
Okay, you see? So you're not an agency.
Well, in that case, I have to outsource.
Yeah, so an agency is an agent. So as an agent, you're not the one doing the work.
Oh.
You have people doing the work or companies that you work with. You build your network so that you tap into them and you mark up the price.
Yeah.
So you find the best, not the cheapest, the most affordable, reliable supplier that you can find. And then you match that with a good client. And then you charge for the price of at least the one that is the highest quality, the most, what's the word? I don't want to say the most expensive because that would be too exorbitant, but mid-range. You charge in a way that you're giving your client the highest value at an affordable rate. But the markup is, this guy is happy, this guy is happy, you're happy. It's one call away.
Yeah.
So that's an agency. So you manage the money. So the client pays you, you pay this guy. If this guy doesn't deliver the quality, you control that on behalf of the client. Because the client doesn't want to come and start shouting at your printer.
I mean, they probably don't even know about.
Yes. Yeah. And they don't want the runarounds. They want you to handle it. Yeah. So when you handle it, you manage the money. If you get paid 500,000 and you know your cost is 200,000, 300,000, maybe 200, you're making a profit, 100 is going to salary and all that kind of stuff. And you say, let's buy this car. Now, listen, this is what's going to happen. It's a ripple effect. You buy the car, this supply is now on your head. Oh, what's happening? You said people are saying, this guy is doing well, we'll give him more jobs. Now, this side, the supply is on your head. We did this job for this client. You didn't pay. We need to get paid so that we can get more material, so we can get your job, other jobs done. So they're not doing more work for you. This other client that has been giving you work is not getting their delivery stuff on time. So you're now creating a bad relationship between you and your client, but also you and your supplier.
Yeah.
And your supplier is actually more valuable than your client. Yeah, because if you manage this relationship well, this relationship with your client is good. Yeah, so you just have to know how to manage the money. Yeah, and how to invest the money properly. Yeah, don't go too fast and understand the business that you're in.
Business for Creatives 101. Hey. Yeah, and just speaking on business as well, I think you've highlighted how important that is. You know, as creatives, we are just like, I just need to make my work look good, and that's enough. But there's a lot that's in the background, understanding money and all of those things. But so how did you learn that, like the business part of the creative work?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I think that we misunderstand learning and studying, because of how we are taught. You have kids who get out of school who can't wait to leave school, and that's a very that's where we miss it, because you should not be, I can't wait to stop school, because school is your whole life, so learning, researching and all that kind of stuff, you need to learn how you learn, because school is actually just trying to teach you how you learn. Yeah, that's the only thing. And the university becomes more specific to teach you how to learn, how to teach yourself. So for me, I learn from observing. Yeah, I observe. I research a lot. Yeah. So when I was working for the agency I was working for, I was observing. I'm not going to go to work and just do what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to watch.
Yeah, whatever is going on, the discussions that are being had.
I'm going to watch. If I'm in that room, the CEO of this company is discussing media, whatever strategy and whatnot, I'm watching.
Yeah.
I'm there to contribute my part. But I'm like, why is he the guy? How come he's the CEO?
Yeah.
Okay, he said something really important there. That's okay. I wouldn't have thought about that. That's something I should keep with me, and it's in everything. Like, what is he wearing? What decision did they make last time? Okay, how much do they charge for this? Why are they charging this like that? So I observe as much as I can. Everything, everywhere I go, I'm calculating how much Nando's is making on a day. Like I look at the receipt, the number is 300 and something, or what, and then how many orders have come through that particular day. So if on average it's 60 or 80 kwacha spent, how much do they make? How much do they pay for the rent? I'm calculating that. So I'm observing every single thing. And that's what agencies should do, because you are an expert in many industries. You're not just focused on one brand. So you start working on different brands, and because you've worked on different brands, you have to understand their businesses. Yeah. So that's how I think that's how it worked.
That's how it worked for you.
Yeah.
So no business school or anything, just observing, learning from other people who have done it before.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Most important aspect I think you highlighted is observing and being curious, right? You have to be able, because when you talked about the order number I never thought of that. This is the first time that I'm thinking about it. Oh, okay.
Why is it? Why are you finding it at 390? What 395? Like, did it start at 390? Like, I don't think they would start it at 390. I want to go there and see when does it refresh?
Yeah, when does it refresh?
Yeah. So I can actually ask that. Like, oh, I see. The person there will innocently answer me. It's not like I want to start up a Nando's competitor. And even if I did, I still need that research.
Now, when it comes to, you have worked with very big clients. How has that been, like, finding big clients? Because it's not easy.
Yeah.
There are also other players in the industry that
yeah, good. I like I said, I will get into the details, because my purpose is to make sure that whoever it is out there who wants to know these things gets the most value.
Yeah.
So when we started with Indo-Zambia Bank, actually a friend called me, said, there's this client, somebody wants to do brochures. Well, somebody they need a graphic designer.
Okay.
This guy, okay. The graphic designer, 1 week, 2 weeks, I didn't attend to it. They need a graphic designer. Hey, yo, did you go that side? A month now, I haven't gone. So I was like, you know what? Let me call up this guy and see what's up. Hey, that thing you're talking about. Okay, yeah, call this guy, what. So I go, and then I show up. Actually, the guy says, no, we need some brochures designed. Come, we'll brief you, we'll show you what we have and whatnot. So I go, I saw the brochures. I was like, I thought these guys had an agency. They don't have an agency. I tell them to do this thing, these brochure things. Okay, great, let's do these brochure things. So I just did the brochures, and they loved them, because I was transforming them from the image that was there before to something more personal, to make the brand personal and relatable to the audience for each particular product and whatnot. So everybody across the bank, different branches, they loved them, and the feedback was good. So hey, this guy. So I was straight up saying, hey guys, for me, I think if you want to work with me, we can work on a retainer basis. And they told me, hey man, wait, calm down.
Relax.
Relax. Let's work. So I did some billboards, and the work kept on coming. They kept on getting great results from it. And it kept on growing. And then they asked us to pitch for a retainer, for a contract. And then we pitched, and then we won the client. And then that's where it became, I think a lot started building from there, because then we could apply ourselves in a complete form as opposed to just one
aspect.
Yeah, sometimes you want to see the strategy flow out through all the products. If everything is just defragmented, then somebody says, we need to do this, it doesn't come together. Yeah, so that also built a lot of confidence, because that was one of the biggest clients we've had, busiest in a sense. We kept on going from there, creating and building a reputation and a portfolio.
Yeah. So is that because there's some projects that just give you a lot of confidence, maybe some project that you never expected to come through, or a certain client, and then they come through and they're talking about big numbers, big names in the industry. So I think there are also those pivotal moments that I think I also had a project, I was charging very low, I remember. And then there was one big client, and I just tried to say, okay, let me try to charge this much. And they said yes.
Yes.
I think that was very transformational. I was like, really? Okay, so I'm able to charge this much.
There's such moments.
There's such moments, yeah.
And it happens a lot with creatives, because sometimes we undervalue our work. Maybe not sometimes, all the time. You see people who have had the experience charging a certain amount, and you're like, whoa, this guy charging this much
for this work.
And it helps to understand why, because it's the added value and how everything is packaged that matters as well, and not just the work. So, surprising client. Found us online, Yango.
Yeah. Wow.
First time we came into Zambia, they sent us an email. Hey, what want to do some work with you guys? We're just like, what is this? This is a scam or something.
I can't believe it.
So the team thought it was a scam, because Yango didn't have presence in Zambia.
They're just kidding.
Just straight from the Russia office, and after some time again we communicated, and after we've done proper cybersecurity research on them.
Oh, you did that?
We did. We actually, we have people who, if any scare, they'll adjust. The Facebook securities and all your social medias and the website and whatnot, just to make sure that things are safe, because people nowadays can pretend to be anyone. So we did that, and then we're like, just go ahead and chat with them. And we did, and then it developed into a whole job, and it actually paid quite well, that job. So I understand when you say the surprising clients. It's a good, I would say, there are sometimes, I think there are people who are at the stage where they need to just charge more, but don't charge your regular client more at this point. Maybe just charge a percentage more for that regular client, but then the new client, the people who are watching and seeing your story and your portfolio, those are the ones that you can charge the price that you think the work is valued at. Of course, don't be ridiculous, but charge in a way that even you're like, okay, this is what it's worth. I'm willing to defend this. And then just on top of that, mark it up a bit, because then you want to leave some room for negotiation so you can fall back to your thing. I find that I'm still a child in my art, with my visual arts. What I charge for my graphic design is not what I charge for visual arts. So sometimes I feel like I easily accept negotiated amounts, and that comes off I'm just whatever, But my intention is just to promote the work at the moment, and I think that my experience being a graphic designer, filmmaker, or these are the careers that I've developed to a certain degree, or a creative director, should not now make me feel like I'm a developed visual artist.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I should. I know some people look at it like, okay, I'm there, but there's a level I want to be at, and at this point, I'm trying to promote the work. So even with pricing, I'm still also just trying to build that confidence to say, hey, you don't have that money, that's it. We're not doing, you know. So I think there's a bit of a sensitivity around pricing when it comes to creatives, but you have to just know when it's time for you to charge more.
Yeah.
Especially when your landlord is calling you.
You know, I need to change something.
Yeah. When your conditions, your state of mind, you need to have peace as a creative. So if your conditions are not set in a way that allows you to operate in the best way possible, you need to charge a bit more.
Yeah.
Especially if you know that you're communicating and delivering value to the person that is paying you. And also that you know, especially when you know that you have demand for the work that you're doing. Because charging more and not having demand is useless. Yeah. So you wanna have your basis sorted. And once you have your basis sorted, so basis, what I mean by basis is that you calculate how much you need for the month, right? For you to just have food on the table, pay rent and whatnot. Okay, so I need about 5,000. So if I have 5,000, these things are sorted, I'm able to work, right? So I'm going to find a client who is willing to pay me at least 6,000 or even 5,000. So I want to work for that client, give them the work that they need, make sure that I grow them to a 10,000 kwacha client. So once I have that guy, now I have my basis. I'm not hungry. Yeah. So you new client, this is what I charge. This is my rate. The rate is not 5,000 anymore. It's maybe 8,000. You know, for the same work, I charge 8,000. This other guy, we have a long-term relationship. It's none of your business. This is what I charge. Yeah. So now you start investing in your promotion, like attracting more clients. How do you attract clients? Many designers or creatives in Zambia don't know that that's a huge part of the business, attracting and promoting yourself. And that cuts across the board. You have singers who say, I'm going to make a hit song. They make a hit song and they don't promote it, you know. And bro, you made a hit song.
You made a hit song, see it. Nobody knows about it.
No one, you know. So you need to understand that that's where the work is. You've done the work, but then now, how do you promote yourself? How do you put yourself out there so that you can be attractive? And this is classified information. One strategy we use is to make sure that whoever that we work with is happy with the job, you know, and you're now using referrals instead of big advertising and making noise. So referrals will keep you, put confidence in the person that you're working with. So if I do a great job with you, right? Someone's going to come up to you and say, I need a graphic designer. The only person you think about is the one who has done the best job for you to recommend to this person. And you recommend me to that person. So now what I need to do is target my ideal client, do great work for them so that they recommend me. And my ideal client, the relationship with my ideal client, the first relationship doesn't have to be money-based. It can be, hey, I noticed that this website is not actually looking very good. I'm willing to help you to adjust it for free. You know, you go, you do it, you adjust it for free. Client is happy. We move on. You don't now go back and say, recommend me again. You move on. But now you go and put it on your portfolio. Say, I did
this
website for this huge company that didn't pay me, but no one knows they didn't pay you. Yeah. They see how they're dealing together. They probably paid him, and they value your work based on the brand, the size of the brand. So now you can charge to that level, because now you have a happy client, happy with your product, who is actually using it. You use that to gain the experience.
Some clients will judge you based on the clients that you've worked with before, whether they're big clients or they're not big clients. Because sometimes you might find that you're doing great work, like your work is very nice, but they look at your clientele and they look at their own small clients there. Maybe they'll just tell you to say, no, you can't charge us this much. This is too much.
Yeah. And I think on top of that, what adds value to your work is your work ethic. Yeah. You receive a call, what's the first thing you're saying? Because when you're starting an agency or you're a freelancer, you are the client service, you are the accountant, you're the what, So when you receive a call and somebody says, hey, we want to do this job and whatnot, what's the first thing you're saying? How does that attract the client or repel them? What kind of language are you using? That's your brand. Look at yourself like a building and a company and say, okay, if you call FMB right now and they say, hey, thank you for calling FMB, how can you help you? So if I called a freelancer, and I called you, hey, I saw your contact, I saw your things online, what are you saying first? You're saying, hey, yeah. So now I'm just like, this guy, does he want to work or what?
Can I call you back?
Can I call you back?
Can I call you back? You even forget.
You even forget that you leave. So it's, and then maybe you're picking up the call, it's 10, and you sound like you're in bed. Like, let me call.
Like your voice is just bad.
So it's that, and then you want to charge me a high price.
Price.
So I'm just like, I'm going to have to do the work if I hire this guy. So there's this, if you hire somebody who is cheap, you're basically ready to do the work. You're
between the work yourself.
Yes, you're willing to do part of the work for them. If you hire somebody who is, say, expensive, they're going to handle everything. And if you're that person who is expensive, you should handle everything. You should handle completely everything. You should just say, hey, this client, this is what it is. You charge them, they pay you, or they give you the purchase order, and then you go and handle every single thing, and you give them feedback points to say, hey, this is what's happening. This is at the stage we're at. We've actually done this. We're done with this. We've delivered the job. We're now waiting to get paid. But if you're hired and they're paid that much money, and the client has to call you every single day to follow up on the progress, and then things are not falling in place, they're just gonna feel like it's not worth it. So you have to be on top of it and say, hey, these people, you value the client to that level because they're paying you top dollar. You need to make sure that you do everything to the T.
You need to get the job done.
You
said you were doing art when you were growing up. You used to love art, and you went to school. You went for graphic design. Did you at some point stop doing art?
Never. I was actually advised in high school. I was told never. I don't remember who told me. I think it was my teacher at the time. Her name is Miss Impy, Buzzy Impy. She told me never stop doing art. For me personally, I think better when I draw, and I listen better when I draw. I'm not distracted. It's just like
therapeutic. It's like writing. Even like writers, they say that it's very therapeutic. It helps me think, clear my thoughts. Nice. And now, so this is called Duwit. So it's all about doing it. We don't just talk. So now we're going to get into the segment called Project Breakdown. So this is where we're going to, you're going to show us how we can create a piece of artwork. Like, what's your process like? How do you go about that process? So this is the segment now.
Awesome. All
right, let's get into it. So Augustine, so we're going to look at 4 things. So first of all, conceptualization, then materials and setup, like the materials that you need and how to set up before you start your work, and then the process, and then the last thing is practical tips for beginners who want to start painting. So the first question is, how do you choose your subject or theme?
Okay, so firstly, I think if we're talking about beginners, we need to understand art on different levels. Are you trying to be an artist that is exhibiting, like an exhibiting artist? And where do you want to exhibit your work? Is it in the museums? Is it contemporary art? Is it, what type of art are you doing? Yeah, because there's many forms, and anything is art because anything can communicate a message, and art is a message. Basically, a message that is intended for somebody to receive it. Once you understand that, then you can now start building concepts. The concept is based on the message. What are you trying to say? And what you're trying to say is based on the representation of, let's say, connecting terms or things that people relate to. What symbolizes what you're trying to say? I did a piece, an installation piece that was made of brass, like a bunch of brass, thousands of brass, hanging like curtains. And brass have a representation, and they have they symbolize breast cancer, they symbolize femininity, and everybody will relate to it differently when they see it. It's like a talking piece. People talk and they tell you stories about experiences with breast cancer and trafficking and things like that. Yeah, so beyond just taking a pencil and drawing on a piece of paper, you need to understand how symbolism and how to build a concept based on what you want to say.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And then now material and setup. So what tools and materials do you typically use?
For me personally, I use a palette knife to paint. I paint with a palette knife. I use acrylic. I'm still convincing myself to get into oils, but I use acrylic on canvas. I also use charcoal on paper. But I'm also an installation artist, so sometimes it's based on what I'm trying to say. So I can construct something based on what I'm trying to say.
So now I want you to now show me like the process, like the steps involved in painting, from sketching to adding layers and then the finishing touches. How do you go about that yourself?
So it depends on the work I'm working on. First, I start with my research. So my research could be photographs, ideas on what represents what, like I mentioned. So I take a lot of photographs, street photography, and I use those photographs as my reference when I'm painting. First thing I do is I work on multiple pieces at the same time. So if my exhibition, if I decide I'm going to have 30 paintings, I'll lay out all the 30 pieces of work. I'll firstly do some sketching with charcoal on paper. I like how that feels. So I like the body and whatnot, the figure. Okay, cool. So then I'll start. Now I've discovered the direction I want to go into. It's more confirmed to me, to my imagination, because it's come out of my head. Then I'll decide the sizes of the works. So I have my canvases, and then I'll cut the canvases according to those sizes. So if I want 25, 30 pieces, I'll cut 30 pieces of canvas. These are canvases that are not stretched, so I don't stretch them before I paint. I paint and I stretch them. I find it easier to stack them, and I can do it the other way too. That's fine, but it's faster for me to just do the work and then stretch it later. So on all of them, I start doing the sketches. So on all of them, I go on the same level. So I don't misuse paint in a sense, because if I've decided the colors I want to use. Like this year, I went with the blues, because of the mood I was trying to create. So I've mixed my colors. I mixed all my colors at once, and then sometimes I go back and mix again if I'm not happy with a certain color because it has dried and it has presented a different kind of quality. So I'll rather mix them at once and have like at least 3-4 colors mixed, and then start going layer by layer on each painting. So if I paint this layer, I'll go on to the next, I'll go on to the next with the blue, I'll go on to the next, I'll go on to the next. Then I'll sit back and look at it and say, okay, let's add some dark tones. I go to each and every one, add, highlights, each and every one, add, background, all of them at once. And then, so at any given point, the paintings are done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not, I have one painting that I've been working on.
Then you start on the other one.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So that's one fast way to do it.
Yeah.
Instead of just, you create one, you're creating 30 pieces, you get one, you finish, you go to the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that has worked for you.
Yeah, it has worked very well for me, actually.
So for beginners who want to find their style, like what practical tips would you give them?
Hey, okay. So it's strange to me that I went through that journey, but I feel like I'm not in the position to give somebody advice about style. I've just realized that people look at my work and say, hey, I've seen your work somewhere. I know that this is your style. I'm like, my style? Okay, that's nice. Somebody actually recognizes that I have a style.
Yeah.
The style is like a brand. You know, like when you see a Coca-Cola truck, you don't need to see the actual Coca-Cola. You see the colors, you see the way they arrange the brand style, and you're like, oh, this is Coke, you know. So for me, I'll go back to the advice that Starry gave me, where you just have to do multiple pieces of the same, in the same style.
Oh,
yeah. So if you, and the style can be the way you stroke the canvas with the paint, or the material that you're using and how you mix it together. Some people mix like newspaper material into their canvas and they glue it on top and then paint on top, you know. So how much more are you practicing that? You know, there's a famous painter, I think she's Japanese. She paints polka dots. I've forgotten her name.
Yeah.
She paints polka dots on every single thing. Everything, walls and mushrooms, shoes. Yeah. She also wears polka dots, you know. So that's part of her style. That's not the only thing she does, but you know, you start to notice that because she's been painting polka dots, she has an interest in circular forms. You know, there's a relationship within the works that she's doing outside of the polka dots that is circular as well. So it's more like a preference that then becomes an obsession, that then becomes a style, that then becomes a point of recognition for you. So how much can you practice that? You know, don't go and make a plant today, and then tomorrow you make a cup, and then there's no relationship between the plant and the cup. You know, like people, these are not sisters. Yeah, it has to be some sort of link that makes them look like they were from the same manufacturer. Yeah.
So get one style, practice as much as you can, create many pieces.
Yeah.
If you like it, and if you find it, I don't know if it's easy to work with, that's what you go for.
Yeah, it's and then you can change, you can practice, you can adjust, you should adjust.
Augustine, thank you so much for that, for the project breakdown. Hope the beginners, I also have learned something, and I'll continue to practice, Mister. So now back to our conversation.
Yeah.
It's now time for the rapid fire questions. So one answer, a very short answer. Short.
One answer.
Short answers.
Let's go.
Who's your favorite artist of all time?
Porand.
What's your favorite painting you've created? Can you describe it for us?
It's not a painting. It's the brass. Yeah, it's
the
called. Yeah, it's called The Foreign Migrant.
The Foreign Migrant.
Yes, it's the one I was talking about where the brass were hanging. Yeah, that's my. I would say that's my favorite.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Make your today better than your yesterday.
Make your today better than yesterday.
Yes.
Nice.
What was that? My godfather.
If you could collaborate with any artist, living or dead, who would it be?
Ooh. Ibrahim Mahama.
The last one. What's one tool or material you can't live without as an artist?
My mind.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think it's the most valuable.
Augustine, thank you so much for the conversation. So anything that is upcoming or anything that you're working on in the background that you would like to share?
Yeah, so it's the school, it's the art classes.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I think it's a new baby that has it's what do you call it when the baby is beyond you?
The baby is beyond you.
It's like it's we're past the months, the 9 months now.
Oh yeah, you've had it
Yes, it's
for a long time.
Yeah, so it needs to be birthed. Yeah, and it's in the process. So I'm excited about that. So people want to teach their kids. There's limited spaces available. Unfortunately, we have to keep the quality good. You know, the ratio for a tutor to students, it can't be too high. You know, and it can't be high at all. We just need to make sure that the kids get the highest quality. So once the forms are already ready, once the sign-up thing is ready, you'll see the advertising out there, and people should start getting informed and sign up. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
On social media, if you just search for my name, Augustine Kagimu, or if you Google it, I think my socials will come up. My LinkedIn, my Instagram.
Thank you so much, Augustine, for coming through.
Thank you.
I've been waiting for this conversation, and yeah.
Yes, me too. Me too. Me too. I was like, this guy is building a brand.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. I was like, hey, this is good. This is good stuff. I think you've noticed that even from the time that you were doing the first type of videos where you were speaking to the camera, I was like, damn, he's putting in the work. I was like, I'm your biggest fan, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's great, and it's great to see more people doing that in this space. Like I said, there's a huge gap in the creative space. And the only thing we can do is encourage each other to just take up that gap, you know, so that we can have some presence, you know, and people will start, or maybe people will understand the value for creativity, because creativity has always been part of every single process in life. There's nothing that has not been created.
Yeah.
It's just like that, you know. So when somebody is a creative, you should understand that they are of high value. You know, maybe the same level or even higher than a lawyer or than a doctor. We all need each other, but we need to understand that there's not one over the other.
Yeah.
You know, a doctor needs a tool to be created, a camera.
Yeah, of course.
You know, to see what's inside someone's body. Yeah. So we need to promote the industry as much as we can. Yeah. So I think you're doing some good stuff, man. And yeah, I appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much, man. That's encouraging and motivating for me to continue.
Don't stop, man. Don't stop.